Oh ho! Hello.
Hello, hello.
That was not the smoothest of transitions, but it's
No, it
okay.
wasn't. That music cut out way too quickly.
I didn't mean for that to happen.
Okay.
It's okay.
Before it was on a little too long, and now it's cut out too
Now I
quickly.
cut out too quickly. It's okay. I'm gonna get the hang of this
Eventually. I'll tell you, the
eventually.
graphics were good.
It was pretty
I
cool,
like
right?
them.
I thought it was a cool little intro.
I wasn't
Um,
expecting it. I wasn't expecting it at all.
yeah.
So that was nice to see.
Yeah, well, I'll get it right eventually. I'll get that transition right eventually. This is if you remember the Shelf Shock Rewind, I didn't do any of that stuff. So,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, sure, it was a little bit funky, but it still was masterwork to me. And I could have never done any of that stuff. Now, the guy that did do that stuff, he'll be coming on in a second. But
Right.
of course, we're here for our second episode of the Unwatched Pile, the show where we pull a dusty movie off the top of our unwatched pile, finally watch it, and then talk about it. And then we're like, hey, what else in our collection will this go good with? And we do that. We talk about it. We have fun. We talk with you, the viewers. You guys throw out some comments. Tell us some of your recently unwatched pile, selections. Let's do this, man. And first, let's start with our guest. Good friend of the show, a good friend of all physical media lovers. I mean, he does about 1,000 shows a week. This is 1,001. Here he is, Ryan Verrill from The Disconnected. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for 1,001. Happy to be here.
Well, it's stupid to make it a nice round number, I think. I know you're all about that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it should always be weird.
Thing is, I'm with Ryan when it comes to that. I've got to have everything's got to end in an even number, a nice round number. Everything from when you heat something up on a microwave, or when you set a timer, or the volume on your television, it's got to be.
It's got to be like 10.
Number.
It's got to be like 12 or 15.
What 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. I guess that's
what 5 somehow. I don't know how, but those are cool.
I guess so. That is a nice number as well. It's got to be a certain block.
It depends on your TV as well. Some TVs have better sound systems, so it's like you got to rack it up to 20 or But that's I don't have a sound system. I just I have the shitty speakers on my TV.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but here we are again. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us tonight. Taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's. You were just telling me before your kids are around a little bit more often right now.
Summer is not a great time when you're in a house with 2 kids that have special needs, and I'm the kind of idiot that I'm actually on vacation myself this week, and I've kicked myself like 9 times thinking, why do I schedule my vacations for when my kids are out of school? I should desperately be scheduling those for when they're in school.
I have the same thoughts sometimes, and well, this is mean. I hope my wife never sees this, but I'm like thinking about my vacations, and then she's always like, so what weeks did you take? And I'm like, should I tell her the wrong week so that I can have the whole week to myself? But then I digress, and then I tell her the right thing, and then
we of course plan. You have a good conscience. Good conscience.
Sure. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I can completely agree, but it's okay. But here we are again on the Unwatched Pile. Of course, everybody here chose a film. Let's all bring up the film that we chose to be our first time watches in our collections. We got Ryan there with The Burning Paradise from Vinegar Syndrome's release.
This is the Vinegar Syndrome release. There's a Eureka release that's about to drop, or did just drop as well.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you how long you've had it in the collection, but we know that it's been a month or two, a couple months since it's been released.
It's been since Black Friday, actually.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, you're right. You know what? You are right. So it's been about 5-6 months.
Yeah.
So relatively new, but not So it's not an egregious movie in your collection that you needed to wait, but
I'll share why actually when I get to it.
Okay, cool. Andrew, how long is what's your movie, and how long has it been in there?
Oh man, this is since you went away, and this has probably been in my to watch pile. I'm trying to think of years now. At least 3 years, maybe somewhere around there. Just because I think I pretty much bought it at one of the many Kino sales that exist, and it just kind of sat around, and then I was like, maybe I should get it. I mean, this Blu-ray did come out in 2017, so it's within the last 6 years I've gotten it. So it's been sitting around for a little bit. And and I went into it kind of completely blind. I bought it completely blind, and kind of went into it completely blind. But Steven, what do you have?
Well, I have The Man Who Laughs, silent film, 1928. Kind of one of the big, I would say one of the big ones from that era that I just had never gotten around to. This release from Eureka came out in 2020. So it's been sticking around in my collection for about 3 years or so now. And I'm finally deciding to pull it out. Ryan, I know you recently said that you told me, but then I remember you saying on one of your streams that you love this movie. Like,
yeah. I think I watched that in 2021 as part of my October horror-ish watch list, and I always pick every day of the week has a different style, and I think that year one of them was either classics or silence, basically, and that's one that was a blank spot for a long time, and finally being able to watch it was just super relieving.
Yeah, it's good when you finally get one off your plate. You're like,
that's a big one for me that I've got to watch. I've been wanting to get the Flicker Alley release, which came out in 2019, which I think was like a year before that came out. And the Flicker Alley releases are always at a premium price, and they never really go down. So it's always been at a high price point. I remember when that was announced that it was going to come out from Flicker Alley, and it was a big to do because of the restoration and the how old the film is, but it's a big one. It's a classic silent film.
Magic or almost mag. I don't know.
Magic Hands.
Is that Magic Hands? That's somebody you know, right? What's up, everyone? That's good. Thank you for joining us, man. I'm excited to talk about these films. I don't know if everybody has seen everybody's first time watch. I haven't seen either of your films.
I've not seen Andrew's yet.
Okay. So
I have to go to my Letterboxd. I'm getting to the point where I watch too much.
He's probably seen your movie, but he doesn't remember that he's seen Burning Paradise.
I probably watched it when it was announced that Eureka was putting it out. And it's coming out May 29th, which is tomorrow, coincidentally. And that's when Eureka's putting it out. But I did get to watch it.
Cool.
So I've seen Brian's, but I haven't seen Steven's.
That's weird. I was surprised you haven't seen mine. That's crazy.
Me too.
All right. Well, let's get into it. First, we'll start off just kind of going around the horn and just talking to everybody giving their kind of impressions of their first watches of these films. And Ryan, please, you're the guest. Start off.
I'm the guest. Well, first of all, again, this is the beautiful Vinegar Syndrome release. This is the slipcover, and like Steven said, this is Burning Paradise. This is directed by Ringo Lam, and the release on this, I believe it's 1994. Yes, and this is the inner art. Love the way this one looks. Steven doesn't, obviously.
I don't know what the hell. I don't like it.
If you try to make me solo, you click on my square and hit solo layout.
That's what I did. But it must be the wrong thing. Go ahead.
This one is really, really off the walls. And like I said, I was going to bring up why I chose this one. And even though I've only had this in the collection going on just under 6 months now, the reason this is on the top of the watch list is this was put on my list, probably now about 15 years ago. And I didn't have an ability to get the old, I believe there was a DVD release from Anamigo or somebody like that. And I couldn't get it for like a decent rate. So I was holding out for a newer release, and then it just never came. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting. Nothing ever popped up. And the reason this was recommended is because I didn't love the torture porn era, but I loved when they did it in a way that really highlighted the practical effects. And I had somebody that I knew that basically said, if you love practical effects, have you seen Burning Paradise? And I went, what is Burning Paradise? And I added it to the list and said, I read this, and the synopsis sounded like something I had to check out. And I have to watch this eventually. So I was super glad to be able to finally see it come up. And even better is it came from Vinegar Syndrome, somebody that I was already buying from. And this release, first of all, incredible. Love this. This is a really, really fun movie. The story. So the story of this is that there's an individual that is walking around like this desert sand dune like era, and he has a master that's a Shaolin monk with him, and he's trying to protect him because something happened in the area that they're in where they are sending soldiers to literally kill all of the Shaolin monks, and they stumble upon this. They go over a sand dune and they get chased basically by these soldiers, and they come across this like rubble, burned down, really terrible building, and they go inside and they find a prostitute, and she is trying to help them escape, keep them safe for a few minutes, and that sets the entire tone of what we're about to have, because in those first 10 minutes, there's blood, there's lots of humor, there is some really crazy wuxia action where you see like some nice wire work happening. There is a lot of incredible dialogue. There is really earnest acting in scenes that you would not expect it in a film like this, because you could easily look at this and say this is not going to be taken very seriously. They definitely take this one seriously. It is done to the point where they like, you can tell they appreciate the artistry of every single thing they're doing. This isn't really spoiling anything because it happens in the first few minutes, but they make a deal basically, and all of them end up in this underground dungeon prison essentially. And from there, it goes off the rails. There are incredible fights in this little dungeon underground. There are scenes that are disgusting to imagine being in. There's this one room that's basically a pit where they dump all of the dead bodies, and you see our main character in there, and it's just it's awful to think about. But the movie's great. If you've never seen a wuxia film, essentially it's like a martial arts film filled with spirituality, with lots of rope work, lots of people flying through the air, taking their time gliding through the air, basically. If you've ever seen I can't remember the title right now. Hidden Tiger, Chasing Dragons, is that what it's called?
Close. I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
That's the one. I haven't seen it in a very long time. But that's like the most Western version of that type of film. And this is incredible. Highly recommend this for anybody that has either been through all of the martial arts films and feel like they need to see more, or if they are never, if they've never even dabbled. And this one is a really great entry point, in my opinion, because it kind of blends like what you would get out of like a Hong Kong Cat 3 film. Really good action, really good humor, and really lighthearted. It's not something that you need to know a whole bunch of lore or history to really appreciate. And it's just a remarkable film through and through.
Yeah, I believe, I want to say, what is it? Chris O'Neill has a video essay on that.
True.
And it's amazing. Like I remember he sent it to us before we interviewed him, and it's really great. It really got me. It got me so excited to watch it. Of course, still haven't watched it because that's just my life. But I remember watching that video essay. I was like, damn, this looks amazing. And Ringo Lam is a director that just is getting so much of his stuff put out right now.
Yep.
I got City of Fire on my shelf. He's got like a whole kind of trilogy of films. I think Full Alert is another one. And then I think there's one other one. I think it's Full Contact maybe. But it's he's a great director. I love his films. And I'm definitely going to get on it. I have to get on it soon. It sounds amazing. I will say that wuxia genre, I would say earlier in my life, I've never really loved that style of kind of martial art film. Like I don't like that flying through the air thing. It always kind of like, I always kind of appreciate more of the more grounded fighting style, like the Bruce Lee stuff, the things like that felt more real. But still, I mean, I've grown to be more open to it over the years. But yeah, Andrew, any thoughts on Burning Paradise that you have seen?
Yes, I have seen it, and it's very much exactly what Ryan suggests it is. Bonkers, off the wall, supernatural stuff going on, grotesque things going on. Like that wushu genre, it's unique and it's an acquired taste, and it's not for everyone. Yeah. I remember when Steven and I, when we were first talking about this type of martial arts stuff, I think it was when we started chasing labels and we were going into some of these releases. Steven, I remember you saying that exact thing. Yeah. And remember, I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was kind of like not the West being introduced to that genre.
No. Hey, Andrew, Crouching Dragon, Hidden Dragon. No,
well, that's even worse. That's worse than what he said.
I love that. I love that title. That's great.
But
I mean, Disconnected somehow is here, and he's here. Wow.
Right.
I'm always a multitasker.
It's but that was kind of the one that really kind of introduced it to the West a bit. It was the Ang Lee film, and I remember everybody was referencing it.
Yeah.
Pop culture referenced it, all kinds of stuff. But that genre, of course, was around for decades, long before Ang Lee came along and gave it to us. But yeah, that Burning Paradise release from Vinegar Syndrome was a pretty deluxe package, deluxe edition. I remember when it was announced, and that cover art's amazing in and of itself. I remember us talking with Chris O'Neill about it, and specifically you mentioning that his video essay was kind of more about Ringo Lam's career than it was about the movie specifically, which I kind of like, because if anything, that makes you want to watch more Ringo Lam stuff.
But it was the scenes of that movie that I was like, wow. Like, I was like, I got to check this out. Just the clips of that movie. Anytime it would pop up in the essay, I was like, I got to jump on that shit.
That's the thing. I kind of agree with you. I'm not a huge fan of wuxia films.
Yeah.
They take me out a little bit. I'd rather, if you're going to be over the top, I'd rather it be something almost comical and
or even supernatural, like in a horror way, like you know, like something like the Quieten film, the film Quieten, the 4-story from Criterion that put that's something that I can do. Or even like what's the one that the popular one from last year that everybody loved from 88 Films. I'm blanking on the name of it. It was like almost like an adventure,
Adventure. Talk about Ricky O.
Well, that is something else that's cool, but no, that's not it. You guys keep talking. I don't have any. Okay. I can't remember.
What I was going to say is in this, the wuxia element is there, but it's actually a little more subdued than a lot of the other ones. It is blended with the story that it's basically like elevating our protagonist as more of a hero, and it does fit very well. And the better thing is because they're in this little underground dungeon, it takes away a lot of the options. They can't fly 40 feet in the air and do these crazy 19 flips. They might do 1.5, but it's done in a way that is a little more believable and keeps you a lot more grounded in this type of story. But then the crazy thing is because it's Ringo Lam, they mix that little bit of wuxia with this wonderful action flavor, and it sets this off down a path that you are just completely unexpecting.
Awesome. You're selling me. We got a couple of comments here. Nice to see you guys again. Dan's all over this thing. Old school friend here for me, Carl Champion Jr. Back in my film club movie show days. Thank you, Carl, for watching. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is that another one you enjoy? I enjoy that movie.
Great movie, sure, and it's got a tiny bit of wire work.
Yeah, definitely. I that movie definitely has that martial arts element to it, but honestly, I look at that more of a sci-fi fantasy. Like the sci-fi element is way more out there, than the fighting element that I take from it. Like it's
of course,
but it's great. I love that movie. All right. Well,
I'm trying to figure out what movie you were talking about, Steven, but I can't.
I could figure it out.
Plenty.
I could figure it out while you're talking. While you're talking about your movie, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go get the release.
Yeah. I think I know what he's talking about. I think it's Duel to the Death.
It's not.
I have that.
I was gonna say that's a Eureka.
Yeah, I'll get it in a second.
Okay, so you have
Andrew, you talk about your first watch.
Yeah, I will talk about it. So yeah, this is the.
That's a good question.
Yeah, this is the Kino Lorber Studio Classics release of Since You Went Away. Switching gears, completely different than genre, timeline, historical reference, all this kind of stuff. This is more in the vein of classic Hollywood, golden age of Hollywood. This movie came out in 1944, so obviously right in the middle of World War II. I think this was produced by David O. Selznick. I think it is a... Oh boy, I can't remember if it's an MGM. No, it's a Selznick picture. Never mind, it's a Selznick picture. But obviously this Blu-ray was put out by Kino a few years ago. I said in 2017. The reason why this movie has kind of stuck in my to-watch pile for several years is the movie is 177 minutes long. 2 hours and 57 minutes.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I didn't know that when I bought it. Actually, I probably didn't. I just bought it anyway. But the reason why I bought it, not only because I'm a big fan of classic Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, it's because just the cast in it immediately caught my eye. Yeah. It's Claudette Colbert, Jennifer Jones, Joseph Cotton, Shirley Temple, who actually was lured out of retirement to to be in this movie. She kind of course, the big mega child star of her time, and then I think when she started growing up, she decided not to be an actress anymore. Did a few roles while she was a teenager, and then kind of decided to like hang it up. But then she was kind of lured out of retirement by David O. Selznick to do this film. And the film also stars Monty Woolley. Lionel Barrymore is in the movie, but for a very small role in the film. Lionel Barrymore, of course, being from the famous Barrymore acting family, all the way up to this day with Drew Barrymore. And he's in it for a very short amount of time. But if you're going to put the big name on it, you might as well put the big name on it. So this film takes place uh, on the home front in the United States during World War II, and it concentrates specifically on what a family would go through, or specifically this family would go through during that time. More specifically, the trials and tribulations. So Claudette Colbert is the mother, and she has two children portrayed by Jennifer Jones and Shirley Temple. And the husband of the family, who you actually do not see in the film, goes off to war at the very, very beginning of this film. And she is left to kind of figure things out and try to survive. Of course, during World War II, you have all kinds of things going on. There's shortage when it comes to supplies, when it comes to food and other goods and stuff like that. So there's rationing going on. They have to deal with that. They have to deal with the fact that they're not getting a steady income coming into their home, because typically in the 1940s, it's a very patriarchal structured society where the husband of the family or whomever is the provider. And if he is going off to war, who is there to, provide in that absence? And this film just kind of follows them along on this journey. They take in a boarder who they have to, so they can make some extra money, who is this great, great actor portrayed by Monty Woolley, who is this old curmudgeon of a man. But of course, in typical Hollywood fashion, he softens up over time. Joseph Cotton pops in and out of this film as an uncle character or a family friend who is adopted as an uncle. And he has some amazing, fantastic lines in this film that I really enjoyed. I'm just a big fan of Joseph Cotton in general, and that's kind of the reason why I bought this movie. But obviously, the rest of the cast and the movie holds up well on its own. There's young romance in this film that with Robert Walker and the Jennifer Jones character. Coincidentally, while this movie was being made, they were going through a separation. They were actually married before this movie before this movie came out, before this movie was being made, and they were going through a separation because apparently Jennifer Jones and David O. Selznick were having an affair at the time. So their scenes in this film, the backstory is they were incredibly difficult to create, but you didn't really get that on screen. So it really shows their testament as actors. Robert Walker's probably most famously known for being in Alfred Hitchcock's Stranger on a Train. He's the Bruno character in that film who concocts the plot that's at the core and central part of Stranger on a Train. And that's actually one of the last films that he was ever in. He actually passed away very young at the age of 32 in, I think, 1951, 1952. And while he was actually making a movie, coincidentally. So he had a very tragic life that ended very early, unfortunately. But he's very, very good in this film as this young soldier who is not really into the whole war thing, but his family's from the legacy that has a military legacy. So that kind of plays into a bit of a theme going on in this film. But like I said, this film is 3 hours long, and you're just kind of on this journey. The movie has an overture at the beginning and an intermission in the middle at about the 2 hour mark. So it's one of those kind of films billed as this epic of the time. Apparently, the year this movie came out, it was a huge hit at the box office. I think it made $7 million. So that was considered a huge hit at the time, which goes to show you that nowadays that would not be anything. That would not be anything. So I really enjoyed this film a lot. I love the cast. Really, it's a good, solid film. It's, in that classic Hollywood era, there's Hollywood things in here. There's a romance, like I said. There's maybe a little bit of melodrama going into it, but you do get a lot of good stuff in this. Also, one of my favorite kind of character actresses, Agnes Moorehead, makes an appearance in this film as well. And she has some she has some great lines in it. She's kind of like this spiteful, like a neighbor person who just looks down at the conditions of the time. Like, oh, how can someone take on a border? How can someone, get a job during this time? How below do you have to be to do that? She's plays that character very, very well. Unfortunately, when it comes to this edition, there are no special features. The only thing that's billed on the back here is the Roadshow edition, which I think is why it has the overture and the intermission. And all you get is the original theatrical trailer, and you get trailers for some other releases that were put out by Kino at the time. But in here, which is interesting, what you don't really see is you do get the typical, Kino plain disc art, but here is a catalog of like other Kino releases, which I don't think Kino really does this anymore. They've kind of got rid of that over the years, so you get a catalog of kind of the releases they had at the time, I guess circa 2017, which is now 6 years ago, which still baffles my mind. I don't know if anybody else
Do you
feels
guys
like
keep
that.
all that stuff? I keep the indicator ones. I get all them indicator
Yeah,
ones.
I got my indicator ones like around me that they send in the mail just because they're kind of unique collectors things, really, because they're outdated basically as soon as you get them, because by the time you get some of these releases, they've announced something else already.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, with Kino's a completely different company now than I would say they were in 2017. I mean,
Yeah.
just the way they're chugging out releases and the way they're you know putting out these collector's editions, the 4Ks now, and all kinds of stuff. When it comes to like the picture quality of this, it's fine. It's not really billed as being a 4K restoration or 2K restoration or anything like that. I'm not even sure if they were doing those things quite at that time, really. But for a film like this, it's just nice to have it in high def quality.
Yep.
So that's since you went away.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that genre of that kind of sweeping romance war thing
Yeah,
is that
the whole
something you?
front
I was going to
stuff.
ask Ryan. Is that something you're into?
I watched a lot as a kid. I had a
Yeah.
lot of very religious grandparents, and based on the upbringing I was under, I spent a lot of time at their houses. So,
Yeah.
kind of odd. Like one of my favorite movies when I was like literally 6 to 8 was Fried Green Tomatoes.
Interesting.
Yeah, love that one. I
That
saw
is
a lot of
interesting.
these sweeping epics from around that time with your Gone with the Winds, your Casablanca type films, and because of that, I don't really love them nowadays. But as I find myself pushing myself to an uncomfortable zone, I mean, obviously, there's a hell of a lot of talent. There's a lot of need
Yeah.
for those in that time, and on top of that, there was just a lot of, I don't know, like relieving the pressures of war that we needed during that time. So
Yeah.
so some of these were just genuine escapism. I think we forget about a lot of that nowadays. It's not as easy as let's leave high school and go to a movie because we're all just friendly. Like there's some people that life is depressing because your husband's been gone for 2.5 years, and I need to go to the movies just to like forget that exists for a little while. So
Right. And the movie does kind of highlight, I think, something that is very consistent throughout, our culture living here in the United States, which is perpetually at war, seemingly, if you look at our history, is that, yeah, is that the people who are, not left behind, but who are left at home deal with their own horrors and struggles and problems and issues um, when they're separated from their loved ones who go off to fight in whatever war that may be. And the film kind of really highlights that, specifically the emotional impact that has, the longing, the missing, and of course, when a loved one dies during the war or goes missing, there's that toll that is put on the family and whatnot, and things like that. So the film really highlights that as well. It is based on a book as well, and I think the person who wrote the screenplay all adapted their own book, which is probably why it's 3 hours long, because they wanted to put as much as they could put into it.
yeah.
It's really kind of a fascinating time capsule piece, but also you can kind of glean a lot of modern contemporary things from it,
Yeah.
which I think is a powerful thing for films of that time.
Yeah. I think one of the things, especially I think one of the things about classic films that a lot of people like to point at is that especially when it comes to romance, that people fall in love maybe a little too quickly in old movies. But if you set it in this kind of circumstance of wartime, things feel more urgent. Like, I mean, especially when people feel like that their lives are in danger. Like maybe not necessarily in World War II. I don't know. I don't know how America. You think America was feeling like they were going to get attacked again after Pearl Harbor? Maybe. I mean, maybe people were really urgent to want to get their lives on and fall in love and have a life.
Yeah,
they think
especially
it might
young
end
people.
Anytime.
Young people who a lot of young men enlisted because of that. People who are 18, 19, college aged would enlist right away because they feel this call, they feel this urgency to fight for their country, and they feel all those kinds of patriotic feelings. But of course, they want to rush into all other things in life as well, like getting married right before you go off to war. If you have a high school sweetheart and you want to stay and you want to make that decision and whatnot, and the film kind of goes into that a bit as well, which is very commonplace at that time, I would assume. I also want to mention that the film is directed by John Cromwell, who's not, I wouldn't say a prominent director, but apparently I've seen now 8 of his films and didn't even realize it. He directed the movie of Human Bondage, which stars Leslie Howard and Betty Davis from 1934, which is an astonishing movie, amazing movie. That's also put out by Kino Classics, I think. That white packaging slip box type of style. He also directed Dead Reckoning, which stars Humphrey Bogart, which I think is in the Indicator Humphrey Bogart set. Maybe I have a feeling that maybe if it's not, it's definitely available.
He directed that movie that just got announced from, I believe, Imprint, Caged.
Yes, he directed Caged. He did
that women prison movie. That was pretty good.
He directed a couple other films that I've seen, like The Racket from 1951 with Robert Mitchum, I think. Yes, Robert Mitchum, Elizabeth Scott, Robert Ryan. And he also directed this movie called Algiers, which I saw one late night on TCM On Demand, that stars Charles Boyer, where he's like hanging out in Algiers for some reason. I can't remember, but he directed that movie.
That's the whole movie.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
I just remember him walking through Algiers. I don't know why.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I don't want to start saying a bunch of movies that could be your, your companion movie. So I don't want to start talking about some other movies that could match up. I do want to read a couple comments though. Dan had put this. I think you were alluding to this earlier. You'd say that's a good question. Is Brotherhood of the Wolf a French version of that style, Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is an apt pairing for what I'm going to sort of cheat and do when I bring up my double feature. And I probably should have gone for that instead, because that's a really, really great.
That's a cool. That's a cool pairing. I can't wait to see what you got. But before we get into that, let's see. Wait, a bunch of first time watches for Josephine. She got first time watches. Heavy from '95, The Swedish Love Story, Safe from '95. Safe's that one with
Julianne Moore.
The
Criterion. Yeah. It's out on Criterion.
Yeah,
the Todd Haynes film where Julianne Moore has this. She has an illness, but no one can really diagnose her. They can't figure out what she's got, and the whole movie's kind of just about hypochondria and the effect the mind has on the body. Yeah. Really great film.
Yeah, Nothing But a Man, David and Lisa, Identity from 2003. I think I've seen that one. That's who directed that one? Damn. Time Ticker and the Stamp Traveler, or Tommy. I said Time Ticker. Tommy Tricker and the Time Stamper, or the Stamped. I can't speak. I can't read.
Yeah, that's almost as bad as Chasing Tiger.
Yeah, that's worse. I've said it. I messed up like 5 times in a row. But all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and talk about mine, which is The Man Who Laughs. Eureka put this out. So The Man Who Laughs, silent film, 1928. It's got a character at the beginning of the story. It's late 17th century, and you have this nobleman who is exiled, but then he comes back some time later to get his son back, his young son. But in the time that he was gone, he was exiled, they had surgically added a smile to his face, scarring him kind of like, which we know, if anybody knows of this film, very much influenced the Joker, or influenced the look of the Joker later on in the comics. So he surgically is given this smile, and it, of course, is terrible. And then they kill the father, and then banish the whole family of that, that whole, I can't remember the name of the family, but their whole family gets banished off out of the kingdom, out of the area. And then as everybody's leaving on the boat, they basically, the family kicks our main character off the boat and says he can't come with us. And so then he's left behind. And then in his attempt to survive, he finds this mother who has died in it's wintertime. She has died, freeze to death in the cold, but she has a small baby with her. He rescues the baby, and then is taken in by this kind of traveling, philosopher. He kind of puts on shows. He's a traveling showman, and then from then on, they become kind of a family. They grow up. The two main characters kind of become friendly and in love in ways, but the girl is blind, which is the baby. The girl ends up growing up. She ends up being blind, and of course doesn't know that he has this disformity that was put upon him. And as their act goes on the road, they write these plays, and they put the name of the play is The Man Who Laughs. So he becomes kind of a popular figure. And then as the years go on, the queen, somebody that works for the queen, notices this act and finds out that the man this guy is the person that was the son that was kicked out. And then it becomes a whole thing. I'm telling the whole story, but so The Man Who Laughs is, to me, one of the best silent films I've seen. It's kind of up there with Joan of Arc. It tells so much with so little. Like it's a true silent film that really is able to give you a lot of set pieces, a lot of emotion, and the story is just heartbreaking, and it's it does kind of take us in so many different directions, talking about identity, talking about self-pity, talking about just these things that that human and different things of humanity. I'm having trouble just thinking about, because I just watched this movie, but it's really just a fantastic movie, and I can't wait to. I watched all the features on it. The one thing I'll say about the features, there are 3 different features. There's 3 different video essays. They kind of are redundant a little bit. Like they're all 3 good, but a lot of them cover a lot of the same ground, and then they kind of have little bits that are different about each of them, but they do talk about some of the same things. So that's the only nitpick I'd say about the release in general. But overall, like, the picture quality is fantastic. They have the original orchestra music from when it originally played. Then they also have a 2008 orchestrated, a new music version that I haven't watched yet, but I'll be interested to see that version too. So, beautiful film. Please, somebody talk about this more articulately than I. So, Ryan, please.
Well, Ryan has actually seen it, so
you've seen it. Please talk about it better than me.
Black and white movie, pretty.
But
no, this movie is fantastic. It is really, it's one of those ones that is done at an age where you expect the cinematography to be a little stuck in what they could do at the time, and it's not. They lean into everything in this movie. It is gorgeously made. Some of the settings that they get in this are just, how did you get one of these cameras back in that day up to that spot to be able to get these shots? They are just stupendously blocked. That's one of the easiest things to point out on this. It is blocked like a perfectly made stage play, and yet it's sort of epic in scope. And when you combine the two of those, it makes this perfect storytelling thing that when you capture it the way that they did, it's hard to not be captivated. And even my wife, who really does not like a lot of older films, she really enjoyed this one when we watched it together last year. This movie is a stupendous story. It is a really relevant story too. One of the things to lean into here is that the whole underlying message of it really is kind of about outcast. I mean, there's certain things that when we are seeing the way we are treating people nowadays, this story could be applied to damn near anything that we face. It is an astonishing, sadly, but it's an astonishingly timeless story that really more people should pay attention to and watch to gain some empathy.
Yeah, most definitely. And one of the best part, I mean, I don't know if this isn't really a spoiler, but there's a part in the movie where, you know, our main character had to make a choice. He goes back to the blind girl, and they have this moment where she's distraught. He's upset. He's back to her. And then she's like, you know, God made me blind so that I could see the real you, which I thought was like, it kind of encapsulated the idea of the movie that the real him is who he is on the inside, like not this deformed face, well, not even really deformed. I mean, he's just got a smile, guys. I mean, He's just smiling all the time. So that was one of the interesting things, was this, like, not necessarily that he's grotesque, but it's that he seems to be people mistake him for that he's laughing all the time, and that it's, it's odd. He's just odd. He comes off as odd because he's got that smile all the time. But that's one thing that's kind of remarkable about this movie too, is the actor, our main actor, which I'll try to find his name. You got it? Oh, well, go ahead.
Oh, Conrad Veidt.
Yeah, Conrad Veidt. Yeah. He does a remarkable job in this movie, and of course, painfully has to take on this, like, when I was watching the features, they talk about he had this, like, mouthpiece that just tore his gums up, like, to keep that face. And then even through just having that, what he did with his eyes, and even just the minor mouth movements he had, it's kind of like when they talked about Tom Hardy for Bane, where he did so much with just his eyes, it's the same thing here. It's just an amazing performance, and I really can't wait to watch it again. I might watch it again soon just to watch the other one with the other music. Anything else before we move on to our pair ups on Man Who Laughs?
Don't think so.
Beautiful black white. Yes.
What I would say, I guess, is this has a bounty of riches for releases now. This has didn't have a great release for a while. Flicker Alley put it out, Eureka put it out, and then just because I'm all up in the Germany side of things, Wicked Vision put out a really beautiful media book of this film, and highly recommend it. They did some great work on this. Awesome.
Maybe we'll get a 4K. Maybe, I don't know. It's tough because this movie was so old.
Yeah, it did get the restorations were done in 4K, so it's not like the masters don't exist already. It's just someone needs to put them out.
Is it worth it? Right. Who knows?
Eureka really doesn't do 4Ks. Flicker Alley doesn't do 4K releases.
Yeah.
I guess Germany would be our last stop.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But because if you don't have the 4K, you could have 4K rights. It's different rights. So But all right. Well, let's get to our first pairing. I can't wait. Ryan, please tell us the mystery pairing with Burning Paradise.
So, like I said, I am known to cheat on things like this, and my mystery pairing turned into 3 movies. And I really only said that because double features, I've always viewed these as very personal. There are 2 different ways that you can approach these. A lot of people try to lean into the same type of story, and a lot of people try to go polar opposite. That way, tonally, you have sort of a well-rounded night. And so I brought one because I kind of figured it was going to get name dropped, and then it did. So this is the perfect segue. My real pick is going to be the next one. But I wanted to say Riki-Oh is a really great pairing with this if you want to make it an all-Asian night and lean into some of the wacky action, because this is all up in that. And then not to mention, it's a prison escape film, which Burning Paradise actually is too. For most of the film, they're trying to escape an underground dungeon. So this is a really great way to look at that.
Andrew did it again. He did it again. He spoiled a pairing.
Did you ever
that was
find
you
that...
actually, I think.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No, he brought up.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, Steven, did you ever end up finding out which 88 films released?
Oh yeah, I did. It's the Seventh Curse.
Oh,
okay.
Something that's a little bit more like fantasy. It's martial arts, but it's like not heavy on the wuxia. Like, it's
and
not
also
really...
kind of horror.
Yeah, it's a category 3.
Yeah. Category 3. Yep.
So this is probably going to be really funny because people that watch my videos, they know that I've not shut up about this since I think December. This is one of my favorite films of all time, and I think what a really fun pairing for this is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh
And
man,
there
Damn.
is
I
so
should have seen
much.
it coming.
I was
There is
thinking
so
of that
much
movie.
that is perfect to go with this because the beginning, they're stuck in an underground dungeon. You got people that are literally sitting there dead. You got bodies piled up, just like in Burning Paradise.
Yeah.
You've got a long journey across multiple climates, I guess. And on top of all that, there's a lot of really great humor, a lot of really good action, solid story, but also at the core, it's just a wonderful story of vengeance. And Robin Hood going back to avenge somebody, and Morgan Freeman, trying to save his life and being the person there to save that person that he owes his life to. This is a really like epic tale to go with this odd pairing of Burning Paradise because it's just a wonderfully made movie, and I really adore all three of these.
Yeah, that's a fun pairing, man. I like it. I hope people are watching this and remembering these could be future double features for you guys. So just, here you go. These are we're setting everything up for you. Maybe we should start a letterboxed just for our pairings.
There you go.
For suggestions for people, make it easy. But I love that. That's a good one. I know you really loved that release from Arrow. I got I think I got the US version, I believe, or maybe I got the UK version, the black one, the black version.
Yeah, it's a solid release, tons of extras, lots of archival features. There are some new things, and I believe Elijah Drenner actually was behind a lot of the special features on this. So it's nice to see everything grouped together. And for a film like this, you don't really, I don't know, it got panned for a lot of the years. And even though it's a really well-made film and a lot was put into it, like you and I have talked about this before, a lot of the films from the 90s, they were actual productions, and to see those get respect, even though critics at the time kind of hated it, I appreciate that so much. I love that our generation is now working for some of these boutique labels and saying, you know what, I grew up with Waterworld, let's put that out on 4K through Arrow and see what everybody thinks, and treat it like this prestige film that I personally thought it was when I was 10. And it's just, these are all just incredible releases. And I love that we're able to be here in this time of treating these with this much respect.
Most definitely, man. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Your favorite line, your go-to line. Every movie is somebody's favorite movie, So yeah, everything should really be. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome definitely goes by that model because they every release they put out is amazing, and it doesn't have to be even a half a star movie. It doesn't matter. They treat everything the same. So that's awesome, man. I love that pairing. Andrew, what do you got for us?
Yes. So it was tough. It was tough to find something to pair up close with this film, because of its specific time it was set, specific time it was, and specific things it was dealing with, and all that kind of stuff. So I went with my first choice, even though I tried looking for other options, and that is the film that came out actually 2 years before this film came out, Since You Went Away, and that is Mrs. Miniver. Mrs. Miniver, which came out in 1942, put out
I almost
by Warner
said
Brothers.
This movie out loud during our
Did
talking
you?
back.
That
Yeah,
would've
I
been
almost did, but I
incredible.
was like, I'm not going to do it
What's
because
interesting
I ain't
is
going to be you.
what I immediately thought was Best Years of Our Lives, but Best Years of Our Lives is set after the war, and it's about people coming home and the kind of the ramifications of that. And I wanted to find something that was specifically on a home front, specifically dealing with similar themes as Since You Went Away. And so I went with Mrs. Miniver. But the thing is with Mrs. Miniver, while Since You Went Away is set in the United States, Mrs. Miniver is set in Great Britain, it's set in England. And Mrs. Miniver specifically takes place over the early days of the war, like the first couple of months of the war on that home front there, and shows those challenges, and specifically the difference and the similarities between the home front in the United States versus the home front in Great Britain. And in this film, it is centered around the character of Mrs. Miniver, who is the matriarch of this family. She's portrayed by Greer Garson, who actually won an Oscar for this film. This film also won Best Picture. It won, I think, six Oscars as well at the time. I know, like I said, Greg Garson won for Best Picture. Teresa Wright, who plays the daughter in this film, won for Best Supporting Actress. Walter Pidgeon is in this film as well, and I've always liked Walter Pidgeon as an actor. I feel like he gets maybe he doesn't get a little bit of loss, but I feel like he's a little bit older than kind of the other leading men of the time, the Jimmy Stewarts, the Gregory Pecks, all that kind of stuff. I felt like he was kind of an older actor who had been around a little bit longer than they had at the time, but he's always great. And this film, like I said, takes place on the home front and is dealing with a whole host of issues going on at the time in Great Britain, because specifically under the extreme strain that they were under during a large part of that war, specifically early on when the Nazis in Germany were really kind of steamrolling with their blitzkrieg through Europe, pushing all the way back to um, you know taking over France and then just kind of bombarding England for a significant amount of time. And the whole RAF, which is featured in this film as well. The film's also dealing with similar themes that the other film is dealing with when it comes to what is the family like? How do you survive this? How do you survive being under the constant strain of bombardment? How do you survive just, feeding your family, dealing with destruction, dealing with, people dying and whatnot? Whereas in the United States home front, you weren't dealing with those things because you weren't being attacked constantly. There was that fear of that, I assume, but you know what I mean? They had that mindset of like, oh, it's Europe, it's over there, it's far away, it's across an ocean. Whereas with Great Britain mindset is like, it's here, it's now, it's happening right in front of us. How do we deal with that, specifically at home? This film, I think also, if I remember correctly, because it's been a few years since I've seen it, it did have a whole Dunkirk situation going on. So if you've seen the film Dunkirk, a lot of the local kind of British citizens took their boats and went to Dunkirk to kind of help evacuate the soldiers from that area, and I believe that is depicted in this film in a rudimentary way. Yet again, I'm endlessly fascinated by movies about certain wars made while the war is going on, and then we have the hindsight of going back and looking at it and being like, what was their mindset making this movie? How did they interpret things? How did they show things? What did they know? What did they not know? We see that now. I mean, the United States has been at war now for over 20 years in the Middle East, and there's been plenty of movies and television series and all that kind of stuff depicting that war, depicting the soldiers. I mean, it's been going through generations of people, and it's interesting to see how things change, how things are different, and how things are interpreted over time. But Mrs. Miniver is probably the more successful and well-known film when it comes to its comparison to Since You Went Away. I felt like David O. Selznick probably saw this movie, saw how successful it was, being super popular. I believe it was the #1 movie at the box office the year it came out. And he was like, I want to make my own version of that. And then decided to do it. That's what I feel a lot of the competition in the whole studio era was at the time. They saw other people doing stuff and being successful at it and decided to do it themselves. You saw it with like Universal Monsters, you saw it with film noir. Like everybody had to have their own film noirs going on.
They're still doing it now.
And they're still doing it now. When
I have to have my own comic book thing.
Yeah, it's like everybody a few years ago, everyone was buying up the rights to every single comic book they could get their hands on. Netflix.
Remember when they were talking
Disney
about doing
Marvel.
that like variant universe? It was like, I think it was the variant.
I do remember the variant comics. Yeah. I remember Netflix bought like Mark Millar's like entire bibliography because they wanted to turn his stuff into shows and things like that, and they really haven't done much with it over the last several years, and then now they're starting to buy up kind of the indie comics world when it comes to stuff from like Boom Studios and IDW and Dark Horse and all these kind of indie things, even Image and whatnot. So it just shows you that like everybody wants to jump in on the popular things. And in the early to mid 40s, making war movies of any kind was really the popular thing to do.
That was the spectacle movie.
Because that's what people were living. You know what I mean? That's the times in which they were living. And I've often said this. Movies are oftentimes reflections of the society in which the time that they were made in. So this kind of pretty much says it as well as Since You Went Away. This fortunately does have more special features than the other one. This has a few extra things. It's got Mr. Blabbermouth, which is like a 20-minute satirical dramatization of an editorial from like a newspaper. It also has, I believe that's an animated thing, and I think also has Blitz Wolf, which is a Tex Avery like retelling of the Three Little Pigs. Don't ask me why they put this on there. What Warner Brothers used to do when they were putting out their own catalog stuff before they made Warner Archive their main hub of doing that, they would just add random like animation stuff that they did back in the day, like a random Looney Tunes cartoon. They would add it as an extra feature to their releases, and it just, I don't know. I guess they just had it in their catalog. They were just like, let's do it. We don't have to produce it. We've got it already. We don't have to pay for it. Let's just roll with it. Because this Blu-ray, if I remember correctly, came out in 2013. So this was long before Warner Archive really took over putting out their catalog stuff. So it has that, and I think it has a couple of other extra features on it as well. 1942 Academy Awards newsreel. And then for Common Defense, which is, I think it's a PSA. Yeah, it says this entry in MGM's Crime Does Not Pay series is intended to illustrate the value of international cooperation between police forces, in this case, those of Chile and the United States. I have no idea why that would be on here, but yet again, it's probably something they had in their archives.
Yeah.
And it's only a couple of minutes long. But yeah, that's Mrs. Miniver.
Love that movie. Yeah. Good choice. Good choice. Yeah, I was this close to saying that fucking movie out loud.
Oh, you almost ruined it.
I wish I did. Couple comments here. Film Nut 79. Hey there.
What's going on, Tony?
He also, is that his name's Tony? He knows all these people.
That's Australia, Tony, my friend. That's from Imprintcast.
Tony we know.
Yeah.
Just put your damn name on there. I know who you are. I love classic Warner Brothers films on disc, as they did the Leonard Maltin Presents Warner at the Movies, which recreates the original theatrical presentation for classic films. Yeah. Dan's a little behind, but he wants to say awesome pick, Ryan. And he also says, I love Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. That song from the film was my senior year song. Probably was for a lot of people back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, finally, to me, this was, I went through a couple different ideas for this, but this was the one that I felt really strongly about. And I think it's an interesting pairing because not only does it have some similar elements to it, but it also kind of has contrasty elements that take some of the ideas from Men Who Laugh and kind of flip them on their heads. So I think it's a cool pairing. And that is David Lynch's The Elephant Man. So that, of course, The Elephant Man, you have his name is John Merrick is the lead character, and it's based on a real person. Now, of course, it's probably, takes some liberties with the story somewhat, but like it's based on a real person. This is during kind of a similar, I don't think it's quite as long ago. It's not 17th century. I think it's more like 19th century, but it's, carnival, very similar to Man Who Laughs, kind of a traveling show going on. And John Merrick is the Elephant Man, who's kind of the main attraction. In this story, of course, one of the contrasts, of course, is that, in The Man Who Laughs, he is surgically made into this thing, but in this film, he is born this way. He's tragically born with this deformity that has caused him to have this very tragic life and is treated like an animal. He's thrown into a circus. He's looked at and put in a cage. People laugh at him. People just look at him like he's an animal. And so, but in this film, Anthony Hopkins plays this doctor who finds out about him and kind of rescues him out of that lifestyle. And, of course, in Man Who Laughs, a doctor turns him into that thing. So you have a flipping of the idea, in this case, the doctor it kind of helps him, he's helpful, and he brings him out of there and tries to remind him that he is human. that he's a person. He's not an animal. And which of course is the big famous line from this movie, where he gets cornered in a corner by all these people that are yelling and heaping at him. And he says, I am not an animal. I am a human being. And so I think for both of these films, at the core, it's about, the humanity at its best and in its worst. All these people that just don't recognize that he is just a person, and they just look at him like he's nothing, and they just get him drunk. They throw stuff at him. And then, in The Man Who Laughs, they constantly just disregard the things he's saying, and they just think that he's just a joke, a clown. And he has a big scene in the movie as well near the end, where they try to get him to marry somebody, and then they laugh at him, and he kind of goes off on everybody and says, I'm not going to do this thing, so they have very similar pathways in a lot of ways, and they have their moments at the ends of these films. And I just think this works really well. Of course, both beautifully black and white as well, if you're just looking at an aesthetic way, and the cinematography in Elephant Man is one of the most gorgeous. It's one of the most gorgeous films I've seen. And this 4K is amazing, from Studio Canal. They did put out a Criterion, but I honestly would say get this 4K. It's got a cool packaging as well. You get this little pop-up thing. John Merrick in the film is creating a little his own little thing, and that's what this is. Just a beautiful movie, and I don't have to explain it. I'm sure a lot of people have seen The Elephant Man. I like the pairing. Anybody else? Any thoughts on the pairing?
It's an inspired choice. That's really a perfect pairing. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I'm glad. It was a lot of pressure. That's why I talked to Andrew about it.
You did. And I didn't spoil it this time, which is nice. I'm
sure it was close.
I mean, it is a perfect pairing. You know what I mean? I will never not fully endorse a David Lynch.
I know you love David
shout
Lynch.
out ever. In any context, it makes perfect sense. When it comes to pairing, kind of the central core of, defining humanity as being more than just aesthetics. It's about something innate, something intangible. It's something truly unique, and something that's explored in films, I think, a lot. I know that idea is kind of really explored a lot when it comes to artificial intelligence and things like that. I think of Blade Runner a lot, all the time. Yeah. So it's very much throughout cinema that core, that idea is very much explored.
Yeah. Well, I think we did it. I think we made it. We made it through episode 2 of the Unwatched Pile. I feel better. Do you guys feel better about taking one disc? I can put it on the shelf now. It was probably already on the shelf, but I could put this back on the shelf and feel good about that. I watched one more movie in my collection.
Nice.
Do you guys feel better?
I am eager. I think I still have the individual that originally gave me the idea of watching Burning Paradise, and it was somebody from one of the bands that I actually used to be somebody that would help them with some random things. Not quite a roadie necessarily, used to volunteer. And I'm considering reaching out to them and sharing that I finally watched it and seeing if I can catch up.
Man. Fantastic. Well, we did our duty. Ryan, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. This has been awesome.
Awesome, man. And we don't try. We didn't do it for 4 hours. I know that's your normal. That's like your kind of like minimum is like 4 hours. But we keep it short for you tonight, man.
Yeah, I can go to bed before midnight tonight. That's rare.
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing it for you, man. We're doing it for you. But please, remind everybody. Everybody knows, of course. There's probably more people that are here for you than they are for us. Beautiful choice of Elephant Man. Thank you. Mrs. Miniver, absolute classic. But Ryan, please remind everybody what you do and where you can be found.
Oh, man. Well, you can find me everywhere under the Disconnected, primarily on YouTube, usually live every Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern to go over all of the announcements of the week, have a guest on, and discuss film until basically around midnight. And then we will also be putting out an interview the Monday of every week. Today I put up a 2-hour and 20-minute interview with Stephen Byro, the man behind Unearthed Films. And I'll just say it's a wild one. And something I don't really promote all too often, but I also co-host a podcast called the Incinerator Pod. And it is a sort of competition style show where you take turns eliminating films from a chosen list of 16. And along the way, there are landmines that an engineer chooses to place, and it gets a bit cutthroat. And it's been really great lately. We just put out an episode on Blumhouse films, and it was a lot of fun. We had the engineer was the writer of 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre for Netflix, and I was able to put a landmine in that made somebody give a really indefensible argument that would insult the writer of Texas Chainsaw Massacre to his face, and it was one of the most comedically gratifying things I've had happen in a long time. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you're doing. As I always tell you, I don't know how you do it. You do so much damn shit. But we love you for it, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You do a great job. I just listened to your Daniel Kramer. Is it Daniel? Daniel, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he does so much good stuff for Imprint. It was a good listen. So,
yeah, he's a brilliant person.
Mm-hmm, most definitely. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for this Unwatched Pile. Please, of course, go follow Chasing Labels. We have audio only stuff that has our interviews and our full Blu-ray rundowns over there on all your podcast places. And of course, we also do video companions for our interviews on our YouTube channel right here. Thanks everybody for watching. And hey, dust off that Unwatched Pile. Watch some shit.